So your final point here was last and most important, the Democrats are being organized around a more potent, but also much dumber, more cult-like ideology. People like Yuval Harari and his transhumanist divinity concept scare me a lot more than the Republicans, and I was once undercover in an apocalyptic church in Texas. Ask your average Russian or Cuban what overempowered pseudo-intellectuals are capable of. I have a pretty good record of picking dangerous phenomena ahead of time. I feel confident on this one, and that's before we get to the demographic class shifts in the parties. All right, so do you want to expound on that a little bit? You kind of touched on that a little when we were talking about Elon Musk. You were talking about these weird, culty, techno, spiritual cults in, I guess, the state I'm in right now. So
yeah, I mean, I probably could have expressed that one a little bit better. I probably shouldn't have picked Harari. I probably shouldn't even mentioned him because he's too eclectic and weird an example. But there is this like utterly materialist view of the world that has, this is a sort of binary view of everything, reducing everything to a power contest. Everything from family to sex to history, like nothing matters except, the history that started 10 minutes ago. We don't have to pay attention to the lessons of art or religion or spirituality or anything like that. There are no mysteries. One of the reasons I picked Harari is because he's into this idea that everything can be sort of scientifically determined, and we'll just arrive at conclusions by working them through. Whereas I grew up believing that there are things that human beings will never understand. Like the Greeks thousands of years ago were writing about the fact that no matter what we do, we just kind of can't escape our fate. There are elements of the human condition that are kind of immutable, and they're both tragic and comic at the same time. And that's a much deeper, richer concept that they were talking about a long time ago. Then we can just sort of scientifically determine everything, and we saw this with the Twitter files. Being able to algorithmically decide what's true and what's false, where the reality is truth is this very, very difficult, elusive concept that's like a moving target, and that's why we've always been so careful with it in journalism. I don't know. I'm not explaining myself very well.
Well, no. I think you're partly talking about kind of the postmodern turn, as you might call it, and the irony of it. What often strikes me is, look, if you've got a brand name that has a lot of power, people will latch onto it to sell their agenda. So a lot of anti-science people push their agenda in the name of science because science has a good name. It has a lot of credibility.
Right.
So they call it scientific, even though it's really anti-scientific. I mean, their underlying philosophy is that the people in power construct reality, right? So they don't actually believe in science, but they know the term science has a lot of power with the people. So they'll say, they'll lean on somebody who needs a grant to keep their position at the university, and they'll get them to write something that's, what they want, and then they'll reference it.
And you just said something that really freaks me out, is this whole idea of like whoever's in power gets to create their own reality, and we can kind of force that to be true. And I worry about that a lot, right? There's a lack of humility, intellectual humility, that's kind of built into that mindset. It's also a little bit immature, I mean, I saw this a lot, frankly, when I was in the Soviet Union. I was a student there. I had, teachers who had this very sort of childlike idea of how the world worked that was based on silly Marxist textbooks that they read. Now, that's not the same as what's going on in postmodernist America, but there's a little bit that's similar. It's this like sort of very, very simplistic materialist view of the world, and among other things, I just feel I feel like people are robbing themselves of something that's really beautiful about being people, which is that the world is this great and amazing mystery, and but those people shouldn't be making political decisions, because that that's not a good basis for for making weighty decisions. Also, there's also within that, there's an enormous cliquish, cultish vibe to politics now, where if you see, for instance, within media, and again, the irony of this being that it's somehow less true on the right side now, whereas it was the opposite a little while ago. Everybody has like the same complement of ideas. It's like a starter kit they all get. They all agree on everything. They believe in exactly the same things. Anybody who doesn't believe any part of it is not an ally, right? And then as soon as they see somebody who's kind of speaking out, that person is sort of descended upon like a contagion, and that's how they view what we used to call the process of debate is let's attack the unclean thing. And we see that in lots of cases, including my own, frankly. I mean, people are just, they see me as somebody who codes as a right-winger because I'm just not part of the club, or I don't want to be in it. And that's weird, but it's also very unhealthy, I think.
Well, as soon as you stopped singing from the hymnal, you started to get that, but no more so than now. That was like a perfect segue, Matt. So Zaid Jilani hit you with this, and I really want to ask you about this because this is very interesting being in this space. You're just rationalizing pandering to the millions right-wing subscribers give you. There are millions of people without health care in the American South because of GOP Medicaid blockade, but not as important as libs of TikTok censorship. Notice how Matt keeps saying, I covered this thing in the past. That's exactly what I'm saying. He stopped covering these beats to pander to his new audience that made him a millionaire. He doesn't touch Palestine for the same reason, despite writing about it previously. The fact he has an overwhelmingly right-wing readership means it's even more valuable for him to cover something besides right-wing beats, but he is going the easy route, the one that makes him money. Now, I have to ask, as somebody who subscribed to you before I even had a show, I'm not aware of being right-wing. I guess for the same reasons you get called that, I'd get called that probably by the same people for similar reasons, but within a reasonable definition, because he seems very confident in this, as if there's been some kind of a study of your readership. Where is that coming from exactly, that your readership is overwhelmingly right-wing?
It's extremely frustrating because there are some conservatives among my readers.
I would hope.
But I think overwhelmingly, and this is odd because your readership changes over the years, but I have a lot of sort of aging hippies who are among my readership now.
What are you saying about me, Matt?
I don't consider you aging. But no, I mean, I think the people who subscribe to my site are kind of all over the place politically. There's a lot of the most common thing I hear is I feel politically homeless, right? And that's why I'm here.
Very much like Jimmy's audience. Very similar.
Yeah, I mean, and probably Rogan's too is probably a little bit that way. But even there, I mean, I like Zed. He used to be kind of a friend of mine, but there's just a whole bunch of things there that are frustrating that he said. I mean, like, if you go back and look, I covered the whole healthcare debate when Obama got elected and they were going to do the healthcare plan. And my recollection is that one of the reasons we don't have single payer healthcare is because the Obama White House did a backroom deal with pharma and sold out the main provisions of the healthcare plan in exchange for 150 million in publicity money. These stories are all extremely complicated. Like this simplistic idea.
Well, they not to cut you off, they leaned on Kucinich to flip his vote for single payer rather than Lieberman.
Right. That's right. I forgot about that. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and there was all kinds of stuff that went on back then, and look, Billy Tozen, helping pass the prescription drug benefit bill, and then going 2 weeks later and taking a $2 million a year job heading pharma. I mean, there's a million things where the Democrats were complicit in this. The Republicans absolutely have complicity in this. But one of the things that frustrates me about a lot of this stuff is that, how do I put this? When we go to most of us who come in who are in media, we're the products of kind of expensive colleges where there's sort of similar ideologies, and we're taught to sort of shorthand what the parties stand for, right? So Republicans equal silent majority, equal grievance politics, equal racism, Democrats equal New Deal, equal social programming equals good. And that's a simplistic view of how things are. Democrats help the poor, Republicans hate the poor. But then when you drill down to it on the micro level, you start to find out that there's all kinds of complications and things that aren't exactly as you think. And so, this idea of, oh, you're enabling all the people who hate the poor and doing damage to people who help the poor, I don't see it that way at all. I find the Democrats scarier and more interesting in the moment. And I've spent a long time in my career writing about the Republicans when they mattered. I just don't think they matter as much now.
Well, those kind of siloed sort of attitudes that you just described, I think they fester in sort of homogeneous ideological spaces. And I think, like, your readership, I would imagine, Glenn Greenwald's readership, even this show, right? We are filling in for Jimmy, who gets called right-wing a lot. I don't consider Jimmy right-wing at all. And, he just had a live show where he had a MAGA guy and a Marxist sort of get into what almost turned into a fight, and they ended up
awesome,
like hugging it out at the end, because they kind of realized that a lot of those like preconceived notions about where their politics weren't exactly as described to them by the media. And so I think these sort of heterodox spaces are important. I think creators who nurture those kinds of environments should be proud of that. They shouldn't shy away from that. And I think, your readership is a good example of that as well. What would you say to that?
Well, first of all, yeah, I totally agree with you. But more importantly, that's what the media used to kind of be for, right? It used to be our job to know that the world isn't, a pair of simplistic caricatures, that things are more difficult than that. And so we don't lean into good, bad, black, white views of the world. And, it's disappointing when you see journalists doing that, because that's the job of a politician.
Right.
My belief is that a journalist, even if they strongly love one party over the other, you should be a little bit unsure about what their political views are, for a couple of reasons. Number one, that gives them credibility to write about all sorts of topics. There's also the fact that when you do that, when you don't announce yourself as a partisan, it makes it possible for other kinds of sources to approach you, because they might know that you'll get a good reception no matter what their beliefs are. So people, I don't know, but you're right. I think that those homogenous spaces I guess what I'm saying is the media used to not be that kind of homogenous space, and now it is.
Hey, there's still tickets available in Stockholm, Oslo, Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, Cortland, New York, Oakmont, Pennsylvania, El Paso, Texas, San Antonio, Texas, Edmonton, Alberta, Vancouver, British Columbia, Denver, Ashland, Virginia, and Athens, Georgia. See you there.